Hello, Zvaru! I am so happy I can be chatting with you again. Today we will talk about the densities. First, I would like to clarify why you prefer to call them densities and not dimensions. Does it have to do with not wanting to be mixing it up with our mathematical perception of dimensions, cube, square, etc.? Yes. Dimensions are for me more like talking about geometric and mathematics. First dimension is a line, x. Second dimension is a grid on a flat surface, x, y. Third dimension is a position within a square using the x, y, and z lines. So this has nothing or not much to do with what we are talking about as in 2D, 3D, and 5D as in frequency realms. Humans see dimensions or confuse dimensions with densities. In Earth physics, they see a square on a paper as a 2D object. A 3D square is a cube. A 4D square is a tesseract. And they go on to 8D geometry, all based on mathematics. But you must notice that they are all physical objects that have nothing to do with what I've been talking about. Yes, of course. It's super clear to me now. Human math and geometrical objects have their place here, but it's not this what is important. Okay, so what are you referring then when you talk about densities? What are they? Okay, I'll make it simple. There are no densities. Okay, so what do you refer to then when you say 3D, 5D, 7D, etc.? All those numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5D density, are only concepts humans came up with as an attempt to understand something bigger than themselves. It's only one great energy, potential energy curve from slow frequency to very high frequency. As we mentioned earlier, take a ruler, usually 30 centimeters long, right? Yes, something around that I suppose. Math is not my friend. Your third density is only between centimeter 3 and centimeter 4. All the rest is what humans cannot see and cannot understand. They cannot see it because they do not have the frequency to see it. Imagine a car running so fast that you can barely see it. If it runs even faster, you will no longer see it, so it's not in your frequency. But if you jump into another car and go next to it as fast, that same car will appear as if it was stopped, motionless. I love this example. I understand, thank you. Okay, so densities could be regarded as lower or higher frequencies then? Correct. A frequency is a density, and a density is a range of a frequency. So 3D is only within a certain vibration frequency. And what is that? The cycles per second of the oscillations of the atomic structure of matter. So your frequency is higher, yes? I mean faster. Yes. 5D matter oscillates much faster than in 3D. So, there is no frontier between the densities. It's all one gradient, one whole, universe, oneness, source. People in each density can only see what is in their range of perception. Things that are strange for you, strange and not empirically provable, are simple life facts for me. It's all a gradient of frequency, like the dial in your radio. Okay, I understand. Let's talk about 4D, as we always talk about 3D and 5D, but never about 4D. Can you describe what it is? 4D is a lighter version of 3D. It's what they call the astral or lower astral. It's just a frequency above 3D, and there are many creatures, many scary ones in 4D, but people cannot see them, even if they do interact with them every day. Now, other people may explain 4D as something else, but this is our interpretation, as best as we can and as relevant as we can. 4D is the frontier or frequency border between 5D, normal space, normal existence, and 3D. Take it as a buffer zone, not quite 3D, not quite 5D. Now, someone in 5D can perceive everything in 4D, 3D, 2D, and 1D, but not 6D and above, because number 5 is made of numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and itself 5. When you are in any density, you are in a frequency match to it, so as with the example of the cars. You can see what's there because you are moving as fast as the rest in that particular frequency. The 4D was set up when you set up the 3D, or was it there before? All frequencies are there. They are all part of a gradient and are inseparable. It's the cloth the universe is made of, physical universe. We didn't invent 3D. Everything was there before. But the Federation set it up, right? They imposed it on the normal 5D perception. What the Federation did was to force 5D into a 3D vibration, super slow and super low and heavy. This is done with frequency management, with the physics concept of constructive and destructive frequencies, superimposed with the use of generators of electromagnetic waves of the correct frequency oscillation to lower the natural 5D into a 3D vibration. But I thought since 3D was set up artificially here, I thought that 4D is also something like that, or does it exist naturally? Because from what I understand, you said that 99.9% of the material universe is in 5D. Both 3D and 4D exist naturally, as well as 2D and 1D. They are part of 5D. You experience 2D as part of 3D. You can hardly see them apart. Same with 4 and 3D. There cannot be a complete hard wall between the third density and the fifth density. There is still a gradient there. That gradient is 4D. Okay, so they are all happening at the same time. They just exist. You just switched us off from the 5D, so we are only aware of the third. But it is all contained. But there is still something I didn't understand. You said both 3D and 4D exist naturally. But then it was also stated earlier that the 3D was artificial. It's not clear to me then if it's artificial or natural. Perceiving only 3D or 4D is artificial, but they are there already, but only as part of 5D, as number 3 and number 4 are part of number 5. There you should perceive 5D, but you are immersed in an electromagnetic soup that limits your awareness using the principle of destructive interference. 5D is there, you just cannot see it, because of the artificial matrix transmitting a frequency that stops you from seeing beyond 3D. But remember, consciousness is holographic, and the density your vehicle is in has nothing to do with your consciousness. What I mean is that you are complete there, in no way handicapped. Okay, now it is clear, thank you. What creatures occupy the 4D, and can they see us? 4D beings can see 3D beings, but not 5D. So the lizards in the fourth density cannot touch us, taigetams, but we can them. So that's a great advantage. But what type of creatures are there in 4D? All kinds of creatures. See it as populated by as many variations of creatures you have in 3D, but different. You have astral slugs, leeches in your etheric field, all kinds of parasitic creatures. Why do they get born in 4D and not in 3rd or 5th? I don't understand that part. Because 4D was a match for their consciousness. It's the same with any other density. There are all kinds of beautiful creatures there as well. Things that people see as mythology only. Creatures like elves, trolls, dragons, fairies, and so many others. A lot of birds you don't have in 3D. And the beings who occupy the 4th density, are they stuck there too? How come they are limited to 4D? They cannot see beyond 4D, yes. But did this happen as a result of locking us in the 3D? The 3D lock on Earth affects their existence too, in other words? Correct. They will also be free. Reptilian consciousness is locked in 4D apparently, even if they are 3D creatures as well. See 4D as the zone where the matrix frequency is getting weaker, so it cannot suppress 5D enough, and the frequency compatible to 4D, the 4D, leaks into existence. 4D is not supposed to exist, yet it does because the system is not perfect, so it cannot suppress all the 5D frequencies. Only some of them in certain areas, so those are the 4D or weak matrix areas. Imagine stars, for example, stars being 5D. On a clear day, you cannot see them because the sun is too bright and it outshines them. You cannot see the stars, but they are still there. But sometimes you can see the moon, not as clear as at night, but it's there as the sun is not bright enough to completely hide it. 4D. Are people there in the 4th density? Examples of 4D people would be the Agarthans. Okay, and as we ascend, will we be able to see all those 4D creatures, elves, gnomes, etc.? Yes, and it's already happening. That's why people see strange creatures all over the place. Is the 4th density where we go when we sleep? When you sleep, you go anywhere your consciousness and your frequency and frequency you have at that time may take you. You are source there. You are free. That's why you manifest anything you want, because you are in a very high density and on the other side. The only reason you are manifesting 3D-like dreams, like cars, trees, water, or a city street, is because that's what your awareness and focus is on, because you are having a 3D experience now. It's said on Earth that when you sleep, you go to some specific astral realm. Again, that's how humans and their dissecting ideas limit things. Okay, what about 1D and 2D? What is that? As state of consciousness, 1D would be like quartz crystals. 2D is a state of consciousness thinking very linear, enclosed in duality, not thinking of other options, very down to survival only. Many creatures live like that. I would say many people as well. Yes, they are, because their consciousness is still stuck in 2D or lower 3D. In 3D, for example, they tend to think only in 3 ways. 1. Can I eat that? Can that eat me? And can I mate with that? For example, 2D is only die or survive mode. 3D is more of a die, survive, or thrive. Thrive would be mating. 4D, you know there is more, but you have an ego, an identity. And 5D, you are sure about your identity, and you might know your other identities as well. So there are 3 related ways of seeing densities. 1. The human math way. 2. The survival mode consciousness way. 3. The frequency ever-increasing curve. As in the way to look at densities number 2, in 1D you are a mineral. You are, and you don't know that you are. In 2D, you are only starting to be aware that you are something separate to the others. 3D, you have an identity as you now know that you are an ego. You are you, and there are others. 4D, you are starting to be aware that you are not only you, but you are part of others. 5D, you have a clear identity, but no longer an ego as such. You are more of a conscious self, an I, and you are aware that you both are you and you are others as well. Which one is the way you perceive it? Because from your explanation, I see it as a mix of the second way and the third way, consciousness state and frequency rate, with the two probably being strictly related. My mind sees things holographically. I include all 3 descriptions as attempts to understand the same. I cannot separate them. I use parts of each one as I need, and when I need to describe a density. I see them all as parts of the explanation. If I had to choose, I would choose the spiritual explanation. Okay, now let's move on to the 6D and above. What's in 6D, and can you communicate with beings there? Only if they want to. See it as the 5D astral, as 4D is for 3D. It's there, but not entirely physical from my point of view, although from their perspective they are physical. The higher you go, the less dense you are, and the rules change. You may still look like you have a body, but you are nearly entirely energy, manifestation of an intention, eternal and conscious that you are. So material universe in your universe is mostly 5D, but there are other material universes. Yes, they are material, but only from their perspective. From ours they are energy, not in this plane, outside the rules we follow in the material world. Who lives in 6, 7, 8, 9? And how many densities are there until you reach the source? Any specific races? As I said, it's a gradient, so it never ends, as it probably goes in a circle spiral, where at a point in one universe, the highest part is the lower part of another, or probably the same one, both apply. A circle, a spiral. And it can also be seen that you are reaching source, yes, but as it's a spiral, probably source can never be reached. Better said, source is all-included, all-inclusive. Those are the realms of light beings who only take a shape when they want to, like when they want to talk to you. Some examples are many Iena, Alcyone mainly. Also many Amelie, Aldebaran. Have you ever talked to them? They do all the time. They are those who guide us all the time. And yes, I have talked to a 6-7D being not long ago. Do you have conversations with them like us now, or telepathically? And did you see them? In astral only. You mean your astral, 6D? Yes, 6D, 7D astral. Sometimes they may hack our communication devices, but it's rare. you must raise your frequency and they must lower theirs in order to interface, to connect. Have you considered that perhaps you are stuck there, like us here, due to something they have done, locking you in the 5D? Or you think existing within 5D is something natural? Yes, but as there is no time there, there is no point in solving a problem in their past, because there is no past for them, not even perceptually. 5D is the natural manifestation into matter of an etheric being. But I understood they also have matter. Only from their point of view. 7D there is only energy and consciousness. There is matter only as the result of an intention to manifest in a hard matter universe such as 5D. It's with intent, only with intent. You said earlier that frequency is oscillations of matter. Does matter at some point disappear completely, or is it always matter for the level it occupies? Yes, when matter oscillates too fast, it becomes energy. So it gradually stops being solid and becomes only potential energy. There you must focus a lot with intent. So matter manifests in the spot and shape you want it to. They just are, and they know. They are no longer interested in anything matter can give them as an experience. They are pure consciousness. You now said there you must focus a lot with intent, so matter manifests in the spot and shape you want it to. But that shape, will it still be 7D, or will it manifest in 5D? It will be any density, including 3D. I guess I'm trying to determine at what D matter ceases to exist as we know it. I would say during the transition between 6D and 7D. Do they have individualized perception of self? The self starts to evaporate as you feel you are everyone. At what D does it happen? You can notice that even in 5D, where you are starting to manage being more than one person at a time. It happens gradually. From what you told me earlier, you experienced yourself as a 7D being in another existence, and you have a memory of that. How do you remember the 7D plane? I remember that it was thick in love and peace, as in so much you could wrap yourself with it as a warm blanket. I remember that everything I wanted or needed was met instantly. I could see all around at once, and I could enjoy everything at once. A feeling that you are and you don't need anything because you are everything. You are the planets, you are the interstellar dust, you are the grass in faraway worlds, every little creature, big and small. You can access that at the same time. Be all that at the same time, completing you. Every memory of them all in you, making you. And you are aware of it all because it's all happening as there is no time. You just are. No words suffice. No words. Wow, that's a beautiful description. Thank you. I do feel my being is still somewhere above 5D too. I do want to get in touch with that sphere again. The question is, if our consciousness is not limited to one particular density, why doesn't the perception go up there? Why does it stay within 3-5D if our being is there higher anyway? We are all standing waves. A standing wave is an energy concept where potential energy scattered all over will tend to concentrate in one point because that point is receiving a lot of attention. You are a standing wave because you are used to giving attention to your present identity as Gosha, your ego, and I as Svaru, my ego. When we let go of all attachments and we just are, we can access other points of attention or standing waves. We can be whoever we want to be. But then again, in order to do that, you must be in a higher dimension like the 7D. Potential energy will manifest into matter with and as the result of an attention creation intention of a consciousness. So how do we stop giving attention to our ego vehicles so we can move the wave? Transcending what you are, understanding that you are so much more, letting go of the ego that is only the result of the destruction of the self, during deep meditation or when you finally passed on. So before we incarnated into 3D or 5D, there was something in our 7D consciousness and above that pushed our attention out. Why? I guess it all goes back to the question of why the source pushed itself out. The intention to create something else, something more, in other words, enlightenment. But before doing that, pushing itself out, we, as the higher density consciousness, the source, we didn't know it would be hard to pull back in again, or did we know it? The source, we did know, quite sure, it's source anyway. And I'm sure the purpose of the adventure is to bring itself together again. As you bring yourself together again, you are more expanded, although this is touching the realm of nobody knows exactly, including us. Okay, Zvaru, thank you very much again. I am very pleased to see that you also are on this spiritual journey just like us. I understand more about densities now. I cherish you so much and appreciate your time with me. As I appreciate yours. Thank you. We talk again soon.